Hello, brothers and sisters of Accounting 201. This is Brother Lewis coming to you at the beginning of week 9. Oh, nearly, what did that be? Like 2/3, almost 3/4 of the way through. You're getting there, just one step at a time, one day at a time. So let's start out with spiritual thought, and then we'll get through the material for the week, just to kind of highlight. This week, reviewing Hebrews 1 through 6. I wanted to spend just a moment on this. God's blessings are available to those who harden not their hearts. And wanted to focus a little bit on this, question of how not to harden your hearts, or, right here. What can I do to develop a soft and contrite heart? It takes a little bit of thought at some point. It's easy just to kind of live and not consider what's going on. So let's take a moment to consider, how do we develop a soft and contrite heart? And I went directly to, well, I didn't go directly. I did a little research here on these different chapters. Certainly they give you some thoughts, some inspiration on what to do or how to do that. I wanted to focus right here on this talk given by Neil F. Marriott, Yielding Our Hearts to God. And, in one of his kind of first statements, how do we, a modern, busy, competitive people, become yielded and still? It almost reminds me of playing a card game last night with family, and there was a little bit of conflict there. And I just had to keep my mouth shut for a second because, everybody's competitive. They want to win. They want to get through it. And I had an opinion. Other people had opinions. And so at some point, I just had to be quiet, right? It killed me because I'm a very competitive person. But in the end, I just had to be quiet so we can just kind of let things simmer and have fun, not get into too much conflict. So anyway, how do we make the Lord's ways our ways, right? One of the biggest questions, how do we become like the Lord? I believe we begin by learning of him and praying for understanding on nearly two very simple concepts, right? Learn more about Christ, what he did, or even learn more about God and how he interacted with us from the very beginning, transitioning to how Christ interacts with us, which is really one and the same. So, whether we're learning of God and how he started things out, or how the Lord took it from there and built the earth out, or even just interacted with the Israelites, the early saints, wherever we might find those learnings, we have really a start, and that's just learning about them, right? And then praying for understanding. How do we understand how that applies to us in this day, how it applied to them in that day? What learnings can we take from it, right? And as our trust in him grows, we open our hearts, right, to understanding. We open our hearts to change. We open our hearts to doing things differently, right? And seek to do his will and wait for answers that will help us understand. I thought this was a pretty strong kind of statement on exactly what it takes to soften our hearts. And then as we go down a little bit further, hopefully I have this still highlighted. Didn't quite do that, did it? I think it's right here. There we go. With a growing understanding of the Lord's grace and mercy, we will find that our self-willed hearts begin to crack and break in gratitude. Gratitude for what? For the blessings, for our lives, for the very breath that we are able to have day in and day out, the interactions we're able to have with individuals, with Christ through the Spirit, with what? I don't know, the ability to walk, the ability to talk, all these things we can be grateful for. Then we reach for him, yearning to yoke ourselves to the only begotten Son of God, in our brokenhearted reaching and yoking, we receive new hope and fresh guidance through the Holy Ghost. Pretty powerful stuff. So, maybe take a moment and read this or watch this, Yielding Our Hearts to God. Actually, this would be reading because it's in the InSign, and see if you get anything different out of it than maybe I did. Anyway, so with that in mind, you're going to be brokenhearted and contrite this week. I can guarantee it. Because the material you're gonna go through during week 9 is going to stretch your mind. It's going to turn it into a mush. Probably the hardest chapter in the whole 13 chapters that are in the book, because it deals with inventory valuation methods, and there's 4 of them, right? So you have to learn each 4 of them. One is pretty simple. The other 2 are kind of complex, and the third one, super simple, right? So, but the combination of all 4 of them actually combined together in 1 week's worth of learning will really stretch your ability to learn. So, stay focused, rely on each other, rely on the videos I have out there. There's a few that walk you through not only how to set up a construct in order to work through them pretty easily. And so once you learn the LIFO and the FIFO and the weighted average, which I think is the simplest one, and the specific identification approaches, you'll be pretty good. But you have to practice it a couple of times for sure, especially before you take the exam. So you're really looking at some Smart Book exercises, typical stuff for this week. Wrong week. There we go, week 9. So some Smart Book exercises. Make sure you got your presentations done, and then you have your quiz, access, and your quiz. So, and financial statement analysis. This is a pretty straightforward week, just like last week, but it's going to be on some pretty intense stuff. And then you're going to have your exam the middle of next week, right? So same thing. Now we're in our 2-week cycle. 2 weeks, 2 chapters, an exam, 2 chapters, an exam, and then you'll have a final. And so midweek next week, the week after next, is going to be the exam. So make sure you're prepping for that. Make sure you're spending enough time here in this week 9 to really understand the inventory evaluation methods. Make sure when you go over to the playlist, right, there's several items here. Quiz access number 1, problems 4 and 5. I think I even did a further deep dive on question 5. Question 6 is in here. You get 1 bonus. There's a quiz problem 9 work through, and then financial statement problems 1 and 2. Not all of them, but you get 1 and 2. So there's plenty of material here for you to rely on to help work through this stuff. You'll definitely want to go through this review of inventory costing methods. This is exactly where I help you create the construct that allows you to work through all 4 different methods in one place and record your answers, which will be very, very important for you to be able to do during the exam, right? You can't stress that enough. So make sure you leverage these, make sure you leverage each other's understanding or perspectives, and let me know if you have any questions. Hope you have a great week. Take care. Bye.